All right. And I'm going to be the one who has to admit this because I'm sick of a lot of these guys talking about I'm not mad because I wasn't chosen in the community. I'm not trying to blame, shame, and explain my way into some uh, hoochie. I'm not trying to do this because of my own selfish reasons. I'm doing this because of the community. I'm doing this to save the children. I'm doing this to fight the war on the estrogen lace Megazord uh, Godzilla Voltron monster that has been ravishing the community for 50 eons. No, stop it. Get some help. Because I, for one, and I'll be the one to admit, I am pissed because I didn't have a home in the community. Yeah, you heard it here. I am pissed. I'm upset because I wasn't chosen. And no, it wasn't by the ladies. I'm going to get into that one in a second. But yeah, I'm pissed off because I wasn't chosen by the community as a whole. Because guess what? Even though I wasn't a perfect kid, I had my screw ups, I had my mess ups. I wasn't perfect by any means. And I know a lot of my videos don't, how should I say this? It doesn't come off as that way. A lot of people don't infer it as me not being perfect. But yeah, nonetheless, I know I was good enough to at least have some sort of backing by my so-called own people. But guess what? I didn't receive that. So you know what? Yeah, I'm pissed because I wasn't chosen. But do you know what I did instead of shaming, blaming, and explaining? Shame, blaming, explain. Shout Thai City and Ramil for that one. I went SYSBM, but you all should know that by now. And you all should know that the guys who shame, blame, and explain SBE are mainly the guys who can't go SYSBM or too afraid to for whatever reason. But we won't get into that one in this video. Nonetheless, this video gets views. Now, if this video gets views, real views, then we may go there. But what I did instead of moping and soaping and toting around and stomping my feet like some spoiled child who didn't get the most awesome toy on Christmas, you know what I did? I busted my ass to get out of that location where I came from. I busted my rear end to make sure that I was not socially dependent on that same community who didn't want to select me to be among the ranks for whatever reason. And in the meantime, well, let's just go to the boring stuff first. I busted my ass, we all know that. And alongside that, a lot of these guys here who are crying, complaining, let's just be honest. A lot of these guys, they aren't as educated or as straight-laced as you may, or they may want you to believe. Because what I hear with a lot of these guys, and this isn't the door judgment on anyone in particular, but a lot of these guys, they weren't stupid kids. They weren't. They weren't the guys who stayed indoors and didn't do anything and just thought they were bigger and better than everyone else. These were the guys who played in the streets. They tried their luck in the community. They tried to be the man, or at least act like they were the man. They tried to imitate that swag, that hood swag, that baby kid juice, as my boy Oshie would say, in a more, well, he would say the direct, he would say it in a more direct way, but I'm just saying baby kid juice to keep it PG. Because a lot of these guys, when you hear them talk, just talk, they sound like the same Pookies they complain about. How are you going to complain about Pookie and them getting all the women and having it easier than you, but you sound like Pookie. You listen to Pookie music. Hell, half of you guys try to make your own little Pookie albums and Pookie mixtapes and Pookie all this other kind of stuff, but you still have troubles with women. You sound like them, you act like them, you hang out with them. A lot of you say, man, I knew Pookie, I knew man to shut up, man. I rode with the gang, man. But in the same video, you're coming to me, not like that. You're addressing to me and others that these women don't treat you right. These women don't treat you with respect. And this is not a critique towards my audience. You know that. The guys who actually support, this isn't towards you. We're beyond this reproach. We're beyond this peanut butter jelly elementary school bull crap. Or rather, should I say middle school bull crap. Because that's when all this develops. Which is why I advocate the banning of middle schools. But, yeah. A lot of you guys tried to play the game of the streets, and these dumbass chicken heads even saw through your act. These damn daggles, these damn strags saw through your act. You couldn't even fool them. But granted, for these daggles and strags out here, the standards of being a degenerate and being impressed by it just goes lower and lower and lower and lower every year. See, back when I was growing up, it was just acting like a hoodlum. You didn't even need to be a hoodlum. Now you have to have some sort of record or some sort of bodies on you, as they like to say. And that's where a lot of you guys messed up. Because what I did instead was not even play the game at all. Shout out to MOT for stating to not even play the game at all. Because while a lot of these mediocre Negroes wanted to play LARP Thug or LARP Gangsta, and if you don't know what LARP is live action role playing, which is basically what a lot of people, how should I say this, for a lot of you who know RPGs, right? You got a lot of these nerds and dorks who will go so as far as to actually act out the role of RPG characters. And that's no shot towards them. But what a lot of you guys were doing was the same thing, except being a LARP for an MMO LARP. It's a THUG LARP, a gangsta LARP, freaking thug LARPing. But you got caught. You got caught up. Well, some of you got caught up in the crossfire, but a lot of you just got caught being frauds. But that's where I come in. And yeah, exactly. That's where I come in. And that's where I looked and said, you know what? Instead of trying being like that, I stayed in my place. I knew my role. And instead of messing and trying to catch the baddest Keishas around, I, for one, just focused on my studies. Focused in on getting money the legal way. And 3, the most important thing, I went after the chicks who didn't buy into the LARP stuff. You see, like Pam's Risen says, you see, there are plenty of girls, even if they weren't the majority, who were into guys who didn't care for that gangsta crap. And don't feed me the false story of these were the girls that you didn't want. You don't want those girls. Oh, I'm the leader of the non-select movement. You guys need to, no offense to the old man, but if you're going to let someone who labels himself as less than, not even have others label him less than, it's one thing if you have people cooking to you and calling you less than, but I'm not going to go on that. But what I did was, one, bust my ass to the point in which I was able to get out. But in the meantime, found a few women who weren't about that LARP program, weren't about being wet or getting wet over, I need a roughneck, I need a thug. And I chilled with them. And even if that required me going to the other side of the freaking metropolitan area to do so. Yeah, I didn't go to my prom neither. But guess what? I went to proms from other high schools. Simple as that. Yeah, most of the people who I went to high school with, I didn't hang out with them after school. Okay. Well, the ones I did, we went to places that were nowhere near where we lived. And yeah, most of the friends I met were outside of the city or zip code or county that I lived in. Well, that was easy for me because a lot of them were closer to where I worked or where I hung out at anyway. So I was basically outside the house during the weekends. I was too busy to even be on the block where I live. Whether it was work or hang out with friends or the studying as well. I mean, granted, the public schools, there's only so much studying you really need to do, right? But yeah, nonetheless, I got out of the community whenever I was able to do so. And that's the thing. Maybe you guys should really consider getting out of the community. Because I swear, half of you guys, for some reason, you are so desperate to correct the wrongs of the past, to correct the wrongs of not being chosen, right? Well, that takes action. Action that a lot of you guys aren't willing to do. For whatever reason or another, because you think that the Keisha is goddess and you only want Keisha, right? You only want Keisha from the block, or even if you are open to other women, you want them to know how to play spades and to cook fried rice or fried chicken, whatever, hog mugs, hams, chitlins, I don't know. And the other half of you believe that wherever you go, you're still going to be seen as a ninja, right? Oh, are we still back on this? Just because a bunch of Africans are getting crapped in Ukraine for trying to cross the border and leave now. You're going to use that and play that as an example on why, they don't like us up there. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay in the... Just because a bunch of Africans are dealing with a geopolitical situation from a country who is, by the way, not allowing anyone who's not Ukrainian to leave, which is ironic because you think those kind of countries wouldn't want foreigners. According to the narrative, they don't want foreigners, but now they're preventing them from leaving. It's just a whole mess that a lot of you all don't understand on why this is even happening in the first place. And if I did explain that, that probably would have the lowest amount of views ever for this channel. So, but you guys rationalize that to stay in the communities that you have been living in all your life, the communities that you all have been roasted and cooked and dissed and non-selected and beta male provided and beta buxed and chased out of, robbed, punked, joned, roasted, what? Look, if nothing else, if you aren't getting respect by the time you're in your late teens, then don't plan on living there for the rest of your life. And for you guys out there who want to get vengeance in the community so bad, well, how about you buy the block? Buy the block. There you go. Buy the freaking block and spur up gentrification, huh? Because I don't get why a lot of you guys are still in a place that you were born and raised in, or in a similar place that reflected where you were born and raised in. And yet you're complaining about Pookie this and Keisha that, or some of you guys are now even going as far as to say it's not Keisha's fault. Let's not even get started on that. But yeah, I'm pissed too. Welcome to the club. But unlike a lot of people in that sector, I did whatever I needed to do to get the hell on and to not rely on that area for my financial, psychological, social, and definitely sexual life. All right. And I think I'm doing well for myself. I know I'm not the kind who shows off his personal life for good reason, but nonetheless, just take my word for it. Everyone else out there, always bet on X.